Greetings, it's Fred in Alaska. Don't worry, I haven't gone Hollywood dealing with the migraine. um, the fundraising with the t-shirt should be posted on the website soon, so check it out, subarcticalaskasasquatch.com. Let's see. Oh, today I wanted to share with you an incident that happened approximately 2 weeks ago at the Granite Creek campground. Jesse was down there kind of checking it out, seeing how buggy it was going to be. He has a couple younger kids, and he wanted to be prepared for the camping season. And it sometimes it varies when it's dry, like it's been. The mosquitoes are down, and sometimes they're not. He was just basically checking it out, checking for any bear sign, really. And as he was going from site to site to kind of gauge where he wanted to go, there was only one camper that he could tell, or maybe it was a site host. He didn't stop and ask. But as he got to the backside, there's these little loop arounds, and he stopped at a spot and was going to check out this particular campsite. And he had been there before, but they never stayed at that particular site. And anyone who's been up here before, you know, they're kind of spaced apart from each other depending on the area. Well, he walks back and he's just kind of looking around, and just off the backside of the campsite, thick trees, goes up into the mountains, up into Turnagain Pass, right? And so this is just literally, if you follow the Turnagain Arm, the waterway that cuts back to its, I guess, what would that be? Its southernmost point. That turns into a little creek, and anyway, that's the area. So he's back in there, and he's just kind of looking around, and it's nice. So he sits down, just kind of feeling out the area. And as Jesse's thinking to himself, yeah, this would be the spot, he starts hearing movement behind him. On the back side of him is the thick trees that go up into the mountains. Now, as he's like, oh, probably a bear, and he was armed. He stands up and turns around and looks, and approximately 70 feet away, not far enough, he sees this dark movement, and the way it's moving is just always just out of sight, just a little bit, to where he couldn't get a full picture of what he was seeing. And he didn't like that. He was like, what is this? Because it wasn't down on all fours, it wasn't a low moving mass, this was upright and kind of moving away from him. Now, as he's kind of sitting there assessing, must be the chaperone or the park host or whoever, the camp host, hiking through. So he thought nothing of it. I'm gonna go talk to him, say hi, how's it been, any bear sightings, whatever. And as he kicks along, he's, sorry, pulling up my sleeve, it's warm out, but I've been in bed all day and just suffering. Anyway, so he starts following just to go check it out, see, find out what's what. Well, he can never really catch up, so he starts speaking up. Hey, I'm Jesse so and so. I'm just curious about the condition of the camp this year. Blah blah blah. No response, but the figure stopped moving and kind of went behind some brush. So he goes, I wonder if he's taking a leak. Maybe I'm not talking loud enough. So he keeps moving slowly, but continuing trying to get this person's attention. Well, as he gets closer, he notices this thing is not a person. It's when he gets closer to the brush that he's seen it go behind, this thing was much larger than the brush, but at the distance he couldn't gauge the size initially. So when he got closer to that bush, he realized the bushes were taller than him. So this thing had to be much taller than that. And immediately he realized, oh shit, it's time to go. So he backs up, keeping an eye on this bush where he last seen it. because when he saw it behind there, he had taken a few steps and taken his eyes off it because he didn't want a person to feel like he was watching him tinkle. I mean, who wants to deal with that shit? So, in his way of being courteous, he walks, so he's back stepping now to get out of that particular area because he feels real uneasy. And as he's doing such, he hears movement behind him. And so he turns and looks, and he sees the same large figure kind of quartering away from him, going back in the direction where he had his truck parked. So immediately he's incensed that he does not want to be there. And sorry, I was just looking for Fox tracks here. Anyway, so he sensed he didn't want to be there, but he has to go the same direction as this big figure was moving. He has his gun drawn at this time, and as he's getting closer, he notices he loses sight of this big figure, which he feels is it should be impossible because the trees are fairly dense, but they're not big trees. So he figured that big of a mass, he should be able to point out, figure out, oh, it's right there. Nothing there. He makes it back over to his truck and he has a cigarette and he's trying to calm down, like figure out what the fuck did he just, what's going on. He wasn't thinking Bigfoot or Sasquatch or none of that shit. I mean, who would? If you're not exposed to it, who would be thinking that shit? You'd be more worried about bears. So, as he's smoking his cigarette, he's sitting on the bed of his truck. He dropped the tailgate, and he's smoking, and there's little tink sounds. And it's bouncing in the bed of his truck. Something's throwing little pieces of the little peat gravel at him in his truck. Not directly at him, but in his truck. So he's like, what the hell? He felt creeped out, but he didn't feel anything ominous. So he stands up, starts looking around. He stands up in the bed of his truck, not seeing anything. So he says, man, he yells out, hey, who's fucking throwing the rocks? Quit throwing the rocks at my truck. It's a brand new truck. He doesn't want paint scratched. It's rhino lined, but who fucking cares? It's his truck. So he's getting upset, thinking someone's playing a game. So he holsters his weapon because he had been holding it the whole time once he was coming out of the trees. Holsters it and figures he's just going to have to put a whooping on somebody for fucking with his truck. So he goes back into the little camp area because that seemed to be the direction the little rocks were coming. And as he's just getting back around the fire pit, a roar like scream. He said it started really low to where he felt it in his clothing. And then it was so high pitched he had to like literally almost go fetal position. He said it felt like it was right on top of him. But once the scream stopped, he was kind of in a crouched position, just kind of cupping his ears. When the screaming stopped, he immediately stood up, drew his weapon again, and about 20 feet away, right inside the trees, he saw the figure. It squatted down and made direct eye contact with them. And he watched it take one of these pieces of peat gravel and throw it right at him. And he watched the piece of gravel come hit him directly center of the chest. He said that freaked him the fuck out. Because one, he was in shock of what he was looking at. He was holding a gun. And this thing just like chucked this little pebble, hit him dead center. And he took it as it was a sign from it, letting him know that I already got you, go away. And so he heeded the warning. He backs up. Now he's almost fell over the fire pit when he was trying to get out of there. He didn't want to take eyes off it though. He still has his firearm, and he raises it up. And as soon as he raises it up, just to kind of let it know, hey, stay back, this thing screams again in a slower, more deliberate kind of bellowing kind of thing with the bark at the end. he said what threw him off the most was that bark. Uh, it it was so piercing. It was so it just the intensity of it felt like it was in his head, and he said it was disorienting. Uh, and he didn't know why, but he said he felt a little woozy. He felt um, not like he was gonna pass out, but like he couldn't completely focus. And so, without any prompting, he ran, got in his fucking truck, and he took off. Um, these things these things happen, and just think of how many people won't come forward, are scared to, or anything, and they deal with it. So their loved ones, for the loved ones that don't know, all of a sudden this outdoor loving guy, all of a sudden he won't even contemplate going to a city park to do a little camping. It's horrible. It's a fucked up thing, especially for guys that are lifelong love hunting, love fishing, love being out in the woods. Just a horrible thing. you know um, Watercolor for Donations is continually running fundraisers for various fundraising. So check her out on Facebook, Watercolor for Donations. I'm gonna thank all the supporters of the channel. Sorry, I'm dealing with a massive headache, guys. Trust me, I'm not trying to go Hollywood. I can't stand shades. I'll get raccoon eyes if I wear these longer than 5 minutes. What else? That's it for now. Hopefully my headache goes away or whatever. But y'all have a fun, safe weekend. And till the next one.